बस आता अभी सब क्वेश्चन करवा सकता था
Stop scrolling. Did you know there's a forgotten land with more pyramids than Egypt? Welcome to Nubia, where over 200 pyramids rise from the sands of Sudan. Built by the ancient kingdom of Kush, these pyramids are steeper and smaller, guarding powerful queens and kings. Inside, walls glow with mysterious hieroglyphs. Gold treasures, sacred altars, and untold stories hide within their chambers. Why did Nubians choose this unique design? What secrets are still buried beneath the desert?
Ever heard of the Nubian kingdom of Kush? This ancient powerhouse, located in what is now Sudan, was a formidable force from around 1070 BCE to 350 CE. The kingdom of Kush thrived along the Nile, boasting advanced architecture, a powerful military, and rich cultural heritage. Kushite kings, known as the Black Pharaohs, even ruled over their northern neighbors, leaving an indelible mark on history. They established the city of Meroe, famed for its iron production and unique pyramids. Despite their might and influence, Kush's legacy is often overshadowed. Unveil the forgotten chronicles of this extraordinary civilization, where power, culture, and innovation flourished far beyond the shadows of more famous.
The Nubian pyramids in Sudan, built by the Nubian kingdom in Meroe, have sparked theories and claims. Some suggest that an advanced civilization may have assisted in their construction, similar to the pyramids in Egypt. This theory attributes the pyramids' perfect symmetry, size, and flawless structure to technical knowledge beyond human capabilities at the time. Another theory links the Sudanese pyramids to energy and magnetic fields, possibly serving as energy generators. However, this theory lacks scientific evidence. Nonetheless, scientific research and excavations confirm that the Meroe kingdom constructed the Sudanese pyramids as religious and royal tombs, utilizing human labor, local resources, and construction techniques.
Did you know there's a wall in Africa that's longer than the Great Wall of China? Welcome to the Great Wall of Benin, also known as the Walls of Benin. Built over 500 years ago, it's one of the largest earthworks ever created by human hands. Stretching over 16,000 kilometers, it protected the ancient Benin kingdom from invaders. The walls were made of millions of cubic meters of earth, showcasing incredible engineering skills. Though much of it has eroded over time, its remnants tell tales of a powerful and advanced civilization. Next time you think of ancient wonders, remember the Great Wall of Benin, a true marvel of human engineering.
They told you the Great Wall of China was the largest man-made structure on Earth, but they never told you about Benin. Built by the Edo people over 600 years ago, the walls of Benin stretched over 16,000 kilometers. It took centuries to build, more than 4 times longer than the Great Wall of China. Then, the British came. In 1897, they burned the city, its art, its legacy, almost to ashes. But the spirit of Benin still...
The rise and fall of the Mali Empire. The untold story of Mansa Musa, Africa's richest king. In the heart of West Africa, centuries ago, there stood a kingdom so wealthy, so powerful, that its name traveled across deserts and seas, a land called Mali. And at its center stood a man whose wealth and generosity stunned the world, Mansa Musa, the richest man in human history. Long before skyscrapers and stock markets, Mali's riches came from the earth itself: gold, salt, ivory, and wisdom. Its cities, like Timbuktu and Gao, were alive with merchants, scholars, and travelers seeking fortune and knowledge.
What if I told you that deep in southern Africa, a massive stone city once ruled a powerful empire without mortar, without modern tools, and without outsiders? This is Great Zimbabwe, one of the most impressive ancient cities in Africa. Using AI reconstruction based on archaeology and historical research, I rebuilt this lost metropolis to show how it really looked at its peak around the 1400s. And trust me, this place was far more advanced than most people realize. Let's start with the heart of power. This is the Great Enclosure. Massive stone walls towered over 11 meters high and stretched more than 250 meters around. Over 1 million granite blocks were stacked perfectly, without a drop of cement. Picture yourself walking here, the air warm, the stone glowing in the sun, guards watching from above. This wasn't just architecture, it was a statement.
Deep in the heart of Africa lies the Great Zimbabwe Ruins, a massive stone city built over 900 years ago. With walls soaring up to 36 feet high, it was once a powerful kingdom, yet no mortar was used to hold the stones together. How did they build it, and why was it abandoned?
Between the 1100s and 1400s, Great Zimbabwe became a massive trading center in southern Africa. Its people built enormous stone structures without mortar, some walls reaching over 30 feet high. Traders exchanged gold, ivory, and cattle with merchants from China, India, and the Middle East. For years, some Europeans falsely claimed Africans could not have built the city because of racist beliefs. Archaeologists later confirmed it was created by local African civilizations.
After Great Zimbabwe, another Shana power rose. The Mutar kingdom expanded across parts of modern Zimbabwe and Mozambique. It controlled trade, gold routes, royal courts, and inland connections to the Indian Ocean world.
Did you know the Swahili coast was a melting pot of cultures? This vibrant region saw Arab, Persian, and African influences blending over centuries. From the 8th century, trade flourished along the coast, connecting Africa to the Middle East and beyond, leading to the rise of powerful city-states like Kilwa and Mombasa. Key figures like Sultan Ibn al-Hassan of Kilwa played crucial roles in establishing trade networks and spreading Islam along the coast. These interactions not only enriched local economies, but also fostered a unique Swahili culture, influencing language, art, and architecture. The legacy of the Swahili coast continues today, with Swahili being a unifying language across East Africa, reflecting its rich history.
Long before European ships entered the Indian Ocean, the East African coast was already alive with sales, markets, and languages from across the world. From Mogadishu to Kilwa, from Mombasa to Zanzibar, African merchants ruled the sea, trading gold and ivory with Arabia, Persia, India, and China. They were the Swahili merchants, and they created one of the richest trading networks of the medieval world. The Swahili people emerged around the 7th century along the East African coastline. They were African in origin, Bantu-speaking coastal communities, who mastered seafaring and trade. As Arab and Persian traders arrived, a new culture formed, their African roots.
Across the Indian Ocean, Kilwa Kisiwani thrived as a bustling Swahili city-state, blending trade, art, and architecture. Its rise connected African, Persian, Arab, and Chinese traders, turning ivory and gold into cultural bridges and shared wealth. The episode highlights Ibn Battuta's travels through Kilwa and the empire's decline under shifting sea routes and monsoon winds. It also honors unheralded navigators and masons, whose coral stone mosques and grand plazas still spark awe. By tracing Kilwa's fortunes, viewers glimpse Africa's central role in global networks long before modern maps.
Off the coast of Tanzania once stood the powerful Swahili city-state of Kilwa Kisiwani. By the 1200s, Kilwa controlled trade across the Indian Ocean: gold, ivory, spices, and cloth. Arab geographers described it as one of the most beautiful cities in the world. Its rulers built stone palaces, grand mosques, and bustling marketplaces, long before European architecture reached East Africa. Kilwa was proof that Africa was never isolated. It was connected to Arabia, India, China, and Persia through sophisticated trade. Follow Echoes of Africa for more hidden civilizations.
Kilwa Kisiwani, a shimmering jewel of the Swahili coast, emerged as a dominant trade hub in East Africa from the 10th century. This city-state's strategic location enabled it to control critical Indian Ocean trade routes, attracting merchants from Arabia, India, and China. Kilwa's success was underpinned by its abundant trade in gold, ivory, and slaves, which were exchanged for luxury goods such as porcelain and spices. A testament to its wealth, the Great Mosque of Kilwa, built in coral stone, stood as the largest of its kind in sub-Saharan Africa. The city's bustling ports were scenes of cultural exchanges that enriched its society, weaving a vibrant tapestry of languages and traditions, and cementing Kilwa's legacy as a historical trade landmark. Nestled along the stunning shores of Tanzania, Kilwa Kisiwani was once a bustling hub of trade and culture in East Africa. Established in the 9th century, this island town thrived on the trade of gold, ivory, and spices, connecting Africa to the Middle East and beyond. The Great Mosque of Kilwa, built in the 11th century, is one of the earliest and grandest examples of Swahili architecture, showcasing Islam's influence in the region. Interestingly, the ruins of the once majestic Husuni Kuba Palace, believed to belong to the 14th century Sultan, give a glimpse into the lavish lifestyle of its rulers. Today, Kilwa Kisiwani is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, preserving its rich heritage and acting as a testament to the vibrant Swahili culture that influenced global trade. Nestled along the coast of what is modern-day Tanzania, the Kilwa Sultanate thrived between the 10th and 15th centuries as a dominant trade hub on the Swahili coast. This remarkable civilization forged extensive trade networks, exchanging gold and ivory with distant lands such as Persia, India, and China. The Kilwa Sultanate was not only a trading powerhouse, but also a vibrant multicultural society with influences from Africa, Arabia, and Persia evident in their architecture and daily life. Impressively, the Great Mosque of Kilwa Kisiwani, built primarily using coral stone, stands as the largest mosque of its time in East Africa, reflecting both religious devotion and architectural innovation.